Come play the $1 million and $1 guaranteed $1 million Sundays tournament every Sunday afternoon on America's Card Room.
The Venetian, $600, $250K guaranteed, day 1B. Our goal is to bag and tag around midnight tonight. Come back on Sunday for the final table. That way we can play the Rio 365 tomorrow, bag and tag, and come back for the final table on Monday. Let's hope things go smoothly. Bankroll challenge is plummeting. We need this one. Let's make it count.
Hey.
With blinds at 5,100, middle position limps. We're in the low jack with pocket 9, so we make it 400. The button makes it 1,500. He's an elderly Caucasian male that likes to splash around. Limper folds and we call. He started the hand with 18,000, we have 22,000. The flop comes 10, 9, 8, 2 spades. We check, he bets 2,500. I could just call, but there's a lot of turn cards that can scare off the action if I am putting him on an overpair. So instead of putting in a 3x value raise, I go for the open rip to make it look like I'm on a big draw, or I got something like ace 10. He snap calls, shows pocket jacks. The turn is an 8, and the river is a deuce. Almost a full double up, and we now have 42,000 chips on first break, 20K starting stack. With blinds at 100, 200 with a 25 ante, under the gun plus 2 opens to 550. We're in the low jack with 2 red aces. Make it 1650. Action folds and he calls. The flop comes jack, jack, 4 rainbow. He does have a lot of Broadway jacks in his range, although we do block one of them with our aces. So we check back. The turn is a 5, still rainbow. He checks, it's time to go for some value. We bet 1,500 and he calls. The river is a 7 and he leads 1,300. Looks like a blocker bet with a mid-pair type hand, 8s, 9s, maybe 10s. So we raise for value. Our hand is very under-repped after checking the flop. 5,100 to go. He takes about 15 seconds and makes it 16,000. Very interesting spot. A river 3-bet is very rare. This opponent might be capable of bluffing, but that would mean he'd have to be small bet lead bluffing the river on a very dry board. The only hands that make sense would be pocket 7s, possibly ace jack, or pocket jacks. 7s and jacks make the most sense. He doesn't want me to check back and not get value from his quads. We go into the tank and we fold. 6-7 is a small possibility suited that he was putting in a small value bet on the river. When we raise, he knows that he's beat. He doesn't want to call, so he turns his 6-7 into the bluff with the pocket 7 blocker. I've not found out what he had, but I'm pretty confident we made a good laydown with pocket aces. 33,000 going to 250,500. Second break. This player later informed me that he had pocket 7s. Story checks out.
When the days change, so does my attitude.
55,000 going to 1,000 big blind. 4 more hours left of play. Then we bag and tag.
Messy at home. I ate a lot of junk food.
With blinds at 800, 1,600 with a 200 ante. We have 63,000. Action folds to us in the cutoff, and we have King, Queen of Spades. Of course, we open with this premium to 3,500. The button is an older man who had previously ripped 20 blinds versus an early position raise with King 10 off and got there. He makes it 7,000 off a 50K stack. The big blind, an online reg who I've known for years, puts in the cold 4-bet to 19,000 with a 90,000 stack. Action is back to us. We have a premium and some fold equity if we 5-bet jam it in with the King, Queen suited. Of course, we have blockers to Ace, King, Ace, Queen, Pocket Kings, and Pocket Queens. Sometimes it's just your time to die. But not this time. We fold. Old guy on the button folds, and online reg takes it down. Our table breaks. Online reg tells me he had pocket nines and he didn't know if he would call my shove. Should have went for it. My gut said to jam because he asked to see my chip stack before he put in the cold 4-bet. If he had aces or kings, he wouldn't really care about how much I have, how much he'd have to call if I did jam over his cold 4-ball. That was the read that really made me want to jam. It was really 50-50, but I did not pull the trigger. Oh well. Plenty of other opportunities. We currently have 55,000 going to 2,000 big blind. Last 2 hours of the night. Let's bag up. With blinds at 1,000, 2,000, 300 ante. Action folds to us in the small blind. We have 44,000 chips and Ace 5 of diamonds. Reasonable hand to just shove all in for 22 blinds. But this time against this opponent, he seems pretty aggressive. Looks like he's going to attack weakness. Our stack is good for the limp jam. Win some extra chips that he puts in and, get that fold equity when we shove. We limp. He makes it 7,500. A little bigger than I expected, but we're going to stick with the plan. We shove all in. He snap calls, and shows pocket jacks. 90,000 chip pot. We need to get lucky. 33%. The flop comes Ace, Queen, 9. The turn is a 10, giving him open-ended. But the river is a 3. We double up and we now have 90,000 chips, nearing the end of the night.
When the nights change, so do my nightmares too. I dream reality is my dream.
With blinds at 1,000, 2,000, action folds to us on the button. We look down at Ace 6 of clubs. The small blind has 36,000. The big blind has 20,000. Normally online, I would just open rip this. It's profitable, but I'm gonna, stay a little bit more balanced and go with some live reads. See what happens. So we min raise to 4,000. The small blind, seemingly pretty aggro, 30-year-old male. Shoves all in for 36,000 chips. The big blind folds. I think about it for a while and decide if I was just going to rip it, there might be some good merit in raise calling with a hand as weak as Ace 6 suited. His shoving range from the small blind should be all pairs, all aces, all Broadways. Against this range, it's pretty close to 50-50 when you take into account the 4K I put in there and the dead money, and it's not for our tournament life. Gotta win flips to win tournaments. Now's a good time. We put in the call. He shows King 10 of clubs. Let's hold. The flop comes. Queen 7-3 rainbow. The turn is a 10. The river is a deuce. He wins an 80K pot. The very next hand, action folds to us in the cutoff, and we look down at King Queen offsuit. Raise it up to 4,500. This is the last hand at the 1K, 2K, 300 ante level. Action folds to the big blind, who shoves all in. We call. He shows 10-6 offsuit. That's right. It's 10 p.m. We've been playing for 10 hours, and this is when he wants to make a stand. 10-6 offsuit. Let's hold. The flop comes. 10-6 deuce. The turn is a 6. The table goes wild, celebrating his genius play. The river's a deuce, and we double another player up. We're now down to about 70,000 chips. Let's run it back.
All alone, I guess I'm meant to be alone. All alone, I guess I'm meant to be alone.
I need everyone to clearly print first and last name and chip count on the ticket. Same information needs to go on the bag. Your first and last name and your chip count only. White portion of the ticket's going to go in the bag with your chips. Yellow's going to come back to you at the start of day 2. You need to show the dealer your ID before you seal the bag. And again, 11 a.m. Sunday is when you are coming back, okay?